The U.S. tightened rules today on travelers coming from West Africa. There are now special Ebola symptom screenings and fever checks. Meanwhile, the race to develop treatments to combat the spread of Ebola has kicked into high gear. Johnson & Johnson has emerged as a leader in developing an Ebola vaccine, and its shares rose nearly 1% today, one of the few gainers in the Dow. So how close is J&J or other drug makers to finding an effective vaccine or other remedy? Meg Tirrell takes a look.
You probably know Johnson & Johnson as the maker of Tylenol, baby powder, and Listerine. The healthcare giant also has a major pharmaceuticals business, and today said it's making a big push in the fight against Ebola. J&J is developing a vaccine for the virus. The company said today it'll invest $200 million to accelerate and expand production. It aims to make more than 1 million doses of the regimen next year, a quarter of which it expects to release for clinical trials in May. J&J is one of several drug makers working on an Ebola vaccine. It joins GlaxoSmithKline and Newlink Genetics, among others. The question is, can development happen fast enough to help in the current outbreak?
It's actually the production side of vaccine that caused the difficulty, especially when you're working on large scale. They claim they'll be ready to go into testing by May. To me, that sounds ambitious, but I hope.
More than 9,900 people have been infected by Ebola, primarily in the West African countries of Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. More than 4,800 people have died. J&J says it's working with the World Health Organization and the National Institutes of Health on its vaccine. It and others have received government funding. But the lack of financial return for diseases not frequently seen and affecting primarily poor countries means companies usually don't focus on viruses like Ebola.
We really ought to use this as a trigger to have a discussion about a policy regarding emerging infectious diseases, because the world is shrinking, and what happens in emerging markets ultimately, as we've discovered, comes to mature markets.
Many companies are also working on drugs to fight Ebola. There are no currently approved vaccines or drugs for the virus. And while the financial return, according to Les Funtleiter, an investor, would potentially be small, the benefit to human health would be great. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Meg Tirrell.